You guys have always gone crazy for my baking recipes, and some of my most popular videos are sweet treats. So I've decided to team up with Kerrygold to come up with some of my favorite ones using Kerrygold Irish butter. From homemade bakes to irresistible treats and everything in between, I've got you covered. It's summertime, the bees are buzzing, and you are out in your garden having a lovely picnic. What is the cake you need to make? It is a classic Victoria sponge cake, the queen of all cakes. A light and airy sponge cake layered together with luscious cream and strawberry jam. It is absolutely delicious. You're gonna strap yourself in because you need to focus. We're gonna make cake right now. It starts off with some sugar in our mixer. And I'm gonna add some Kerrygold Irish butter. And a lot of you guys always ask why my butter is so lovely and yellow, and it's because Kerrygold Irish butter is made from grass-fed cows. So you're left with the most beautiful, creamy butter. Now, you wanna get your mixer straight on, and you wanna mix it until you have a light and pale mixture. Come on in. Okay, this is looking really good. Check this out. We have a lovely light and pale mixture, and I'm just gonna scrape it down from the side because we're gonna get in there with 4 large free-range eggs, and I'm gonna add them one at a time, beating after each addition to make sure that the mixture doesn't split. This is where you have to be a little bit more light and delicate with it. So I'm gonna sieve in some self-raising flour. Grab a spatula, and this is where you have to be a little bit more gentle. So fold that flour in. The last ingredient I'm going to add in here is a drop of vanilla extract. So get that straight in there, about a teaspoon going in. I'm going to transfer the mixture straight out. You're looking for about half the mixture in both cake tins. Spread that cake batter over the base of your cake tin. And my little trick to make sure that you don't get too much of a rise in the center is to kind of leave a dip or a dimple in the center so that it's kind of higher around the edges. This prevents it rising up too much in the middle. So now these cake tins are ready to go into the oven. They're going to cook off for about 20 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius until they're risen up and lovely and golden. My sponges have come out of the oven, and look how deliciously golden they look. So straight on a cake stand, stick it up on the board, and if you're going to make a Victoria sponge cake, you've got to have a bit of strawberry jam and a bit of cream. Straight in there with some lovely, luscious strawberry jam. You don't want to spread it right to the edges because this is going to sandwich together and it might squeeze out. You want it to look very pretty for your summer dessert. Lovely, luscious cream over the top. It's already starting to look pretty good. And then just carefully spread that across, and now it is ready for our pièce de résistance, the top layer. All right, here we go. Got to concentrate as I do this. Oh, yes. How good does that look? And you know what? It looks pretty good like this, but I'm going to finish it off with some fresh strawberries and a little dusting of icing sugar. Is everyone ready for some cake? Oh yes. Here we go. I know. Are you excited? All right, here we go. They're great. Hi guys, summer is here, so I want to show you how to make a really perfect little summer dessert, and best of all, it uses my favorite summer ingredient, the mighty strawberry. Check these babies out, straight from the garden, really beautiful, and now we're going to make up a strawberry summer pavlova cake that also uses a few raspberries in there as well. It starts off with some icing sugar in a mixer like this, and I've got some egg whites in here as well. You want to whisk up your icing sugar with your egg whites for 10 whole minutes. And switch on your mixer at the base. And give it a good mix through. Hey! This mixture has been whisking up for 10 minutes, and check this out because now we are left with this wonderful marshmallowy meringue mixture and these glossy peaks which are going to result in the fantastic pavlova we're looking for. So tap off any of that excess. I'm going to add a little bit of corn flour, a teaspoon of corn flour, maybe 2 teaspoons of corn flour in here, and a teaspoon of white wine vinegar. So So just grab a spatula and an extra one if you need one, and then just mix this through, okay? So just get it nice and smooth. Once you have it mixed through and it's folded and looking very nice and glossy, we're gonna take it over and transfer it to some sheets I've lined with some parchment paper. And you just want to distribute it evenly across the two of them. Take a cake slice or whatever you want to call this, a palette knife, and just spread this mixture now across the base into a nice kind of even circular mixture. Okay, 2 beautiful Pavlova bases all ready to go. These go into the oven for 45 minutes at 150 degrees Celsius until they're nice and crisp on the outside and lovely marshmallowy in the inside. Right, they're in the oven, and as you may have noticed, I have some I've prepared earlier, and these have been sitting here very nicely, and I'm going to transfer them over to a cake stand. Take a big dollop of some whipped cream and place that on the center, and this is the glue that brings together this lovely Pavlova cake. Just spread it over like that, and when you cut through this great Pavlova cake, you get these great layers of cream and berries and meringue, and it's all very, very tasty. So just spread this to the side, and that should do me for the moment, and then carefully place this one on top. Look at that, oozing cream out the sides. And now I just need to finish it with some more cream on the top. So look, layer this up with more cream. I've been very generous on the top, as you can see, and just spread it evenly around the sides. And now, to finish it off, we are going to put some of those great berries, and I have some of the summer's finest berries here. I'm going to put up a chopping board and take some of these strawberries. Just take the core out of some of them, halve some of them, make them all look a little bit jumbly and looking very, very nice, and then we're going to tumble them on top. Very nice. And then a few little whole ones on the top, looking very pretty as well. And then get some of those lovely raspberries in there as well, just in and around. Now, if you have some little kitchen helpers, this is the prime time to get them in and get them involved, get them to decorate this cake up, give them lots of lovely berries to play with, and that's all you need to do. Decorate it up, a fantastic summer dessert. All that's left to do is dig in. I'm going to take up a nice big slice. Oh, wow. I don't think I even need a plate. I'm just going to get it into my gob. So good. You don't even need me to tell you how good this is. Look at it. There is one dessert that I always wish I made more, and that is the classic Tarte Tatin, a French dessert with flaky puff pastry, sticky caramel, and the most beautiful tender apples. This version has a little bit of star anise, a bit of cinnamon, and a hit of calvados, that beautiful apple liqueur. We're going to start off by peeling and coring these apples and then quartering them. So there's a little bit of work in this, but the great thing about this Tarte Tatin is that it is such a celebration dish. It's the kind of dessert that makes you look good. That's what I would say about this one. So just peel up these apples, core them, and we should have nice little quarters. Okay, so I have all my apples nicely peeled, cored and quartered, and I'm just going to give them a good squeeze with lemon juice just while I work away here. And the lemon juice here is acidic, so it's going to actually stop these apples from browning while I work away. And now that I have my apples ready, it's time to make this caramel. So to start off, in a pan, I have some caster sugar going here. Now this is the most basic way of making caramel. Sugar in a pan just until it caramelizes, and you have to keep your eye on this. It is a game of patience. Let it come to the point where it just starts catching on the edges, and then you can use your pan to swirl, but never go in there with a spoon because otherwise it will crystallize. So just taking a little bit of time, bring that heat and start to caramelize this sugar. There is a swift moment where that sugar just starts to instantly dissolve, and that's where you have to have your game face on and start swirling that pan so you get a nice even cook on this beautiful caramel. And just as it's melting like this, I'm going to hit it with some flavor from some star anise. Now, this is not a traditional ingredient, but it adds a lovely flavor that works extremely well alongside these apples. So just bring this caramel to a nice golden brown color. And when it has, it's just a case of getting in there with some butter. That's going to basically create this lovely creamy caramel. So melt that in. Give it a nice little swirl and just look at that. That is flavor. Butter, sugar, star anise, and I'm gonna add a little pinch of some cinnamon in here just to give it that lovely fragrance that works quite well with apples. So a little hit of cinnamon. Melt down that butter. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. I'm just gonna give it a splash of this apple liqueur. Straight in there. Oh yes, look at that. Okay, straight in there with our apples. We're gonna layer these around. You don't have to be too particular about this, but you want to work your way around just until you have a nice little pattern. And just nuzzle them in to get a nice little finish here. And then do just exactly the same in the center. Okay, this is looking pretty good now. So I'm just gonna swirl the pan and allow that caramel just to come up around the sides of the apples. And they're gonna slowly cook in this beautiful caramel sauce just for about 8 minutes to 10 minutes, just until the apples start to become nice and tender. Now, while they are cooking away, we're gonna talk about this pastry lid. For this, you are gonna need some puff pastry that you can buy, shop bought. Do buy the one that you get in a block like this. It's a lot easier to work with. And so I'm gonna dust my surface with a little bit of flour just to work my way around here. And dust the top of the pastry and also a little bit on the rolling pin. What you're looking for is about 1 centimeter in thickness here. So just roll this out. And I'm just turning slowly but surely till I get a nice even finish on this pastry. All right, we are looking good. This is just the thickness it needs to be. And now using a little plate, I'm just gonna line this up. This is around the same size as the pan. And I'm just gonna cut a nice generous round to allow myself loads of space to work with. So just using that plate as a guide, slowly but surely just slice out your nice round of pastry. And now, losing my plate, it's just a case of rolling this pastry up and over the rolling pin, and then just using that rolling pin, slowly but surely roll it on top, and then very carefully tuck it into bed. I'm just going to use a sharp knife and just poke it all the way over to allow any of that steam to escape. And this is now going to go into the oven, and it's going to cook for about 20 minutes, just until that puff pastry is nice and golden. It's in at around 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, depending on how hot your oven is. And when this comes out, you should be left with beautiful puff pastry, golden apples, and the most gorgeous little Tarte Tatin. Right, into the oven. Right, the Tarte Tatin has come out of the oven. You can see now the puff pastry has come up. It's golden and brown. And I'm just going to leave this to sit ever so slightly, just for a minute or two, before I turn it out and allow that caramel to seep all over the beautiful puff pastry. Tarte Tatin should be nice and just about ready to be turned out. Yes, I can see it's still a bit juicy-loosey around the sides. This is where you have to concentrate. Take up a large, flat serving platter, or a tray in this case, and then very carefully, in one fell movement, or one fell swoop, turn it out like this, and then very carefully, so it doesn't drip all over the sides like it has just there, I'm going to remove the tea towel, and then remove the pan. And come on, does that not look good? Just a look at that puff pastry edge. Beautiful, tender apples, and it just looks spectacular. The smell of the star anise and the cinnamon and the caramel. I'm gonna have to ruin it though. I'm gonna have to go straight in there, cut myself a slice of this beautiful tart. Oh, it is just at that point of perfection. Really tender little apple pieces, and all that gorgeous caramel. My goodness. Take up some of that pastry, take up some of that apple. If you have not made Tarte Tatin, you need to make Tarte Tatin. This is my desert island dessert. It is one that I come back to time and time again. It is the mighty sticky toffee pudding. It is a spectacular, moist, dense cake that is slathered with a salty, sticky, sweet caramel sauce. It is one of my favorite desserts. We're going to serve it up with ice cream, and it's a total treat. Now, to start this off, I'm going to add some softened butter into a bowl alongside some brown sugar. The real core of a good sticky toffee pudding is that sort of cloying, rounded sweetness you get from both brown sugar and the dates, which we're going to add in a little bit later. But to start with, some light brown sugar going in there. I'm going to get a hand mixer on and we're going to beat this up until it's nice and smooth and fluffy. Okay, this is starting to look good. You want to keep beating it until it changes in color from that sort of darker, lumpy mixture into something that's really smooth, light, and pale. So this is pretty much where it needs to be. So I'm going to turn off my mixer. We're going to leave that, and we're going to add 1 egg at a time. We've got 2 eggs going in, but it's 1 egg at a time. And by doing this one at a time and beating after each addition, we're going to get a nice, smooth mixture that's fully incorporated. Okay, that's our 2 eggs in, and at this point now you have a nice smooth mixture of the butter, the eggs, and the sugar. Now it's time to inject a little more of that sweetness and that stickiness that this sticky toffee pudding is all about. And that comes in the form of both treacle and golden syrup. So pour them straight in. I love using treacle. It really adds a sort of a dark, rich sweetness. And you can get that with something like molasses if you can't find that. And with the golden syrup, you could replace that with corn syrup if you want to. But golden syrup and treacle really are the classic ingredients to this really rich and decadent sticky toffee pudding. Alongside that, we want a little bit of that sort of floral essence that you get from vanilla extract. So a good glug of that goes in, and give that a last little mix up before we add the flour. Okay, this is nicely mixed through. Now we've got the basis of all that great sticky toffee action. But the real core element now is to add the flour and to add our dates. But for the dates, what we want to do is stick a saucepan over a medium heat. We're going to add some roughly chopped dates. These are really rich and sweet and sticky, and they're going to be what adds that texture that's so distinctly sticky toffee pudding. So just chop up the dates, and then we're going to add them straight into a saucepan. To that, we're going to add a nice quantity of water. That then comes up to a nice steady simmer, and then we're going to stir through some bicarb. Now, while that's cooking away, we're going to get our flour in and get this completely incorporated before we add that beautiful sticky date mix. Beautiful. Okay, so now at this point our batter is looking pretty good. The flour's been added, fully incorporated. At this stage now, the dates have been simmering for a minute or two, and really all you're looking for them to do is to soften down, because when they come out of a packet, they're kind of dried and a little bit miserable looking. So adding them to the heat and allowing them to soften ever so slightly, that's going to be the difference. So we're going to add our bicarbonate of soda in here. It will fizz up, it will bubble, but that's where the magic of this sticky toffee pudding comes in, and then it's time to get it in here. So straight in with the bicarb. And as soon as you add it in, you'll see it starts foaming up and looks a little bit ferocious for a moment or two, and then it cools down ever so slightly, and you should be left with a sort of sticky, foamy mixture, and it's this that adds that uniquely sticky toffee pudding sort of texture to this moist batter. So while it's still hot, we're going to pour this straight in. We're going to get a spatula and just fold this through. So a little bit to start with, and then the rest goes in and gets folded in. It feels strange to add the hot mixture in here, but it does work, so don't panic. Okay, that's nicely mixed through. The rest goes in. So just mix that through, fold it through, and you should be left with this sort of dark, unctuous looking loose batter that can now be poured into a baking dish that I've just buttered. Now, look, when you make sticky toffee pudding, you might think of those individual little molds. This is the way forward. You just pour the whole lot in, and you can serve it straight to the table and people can dig in. To be honest, it's the easiest way of doing this. I used to always make this into little Dario molds that you have to unturn when it comes time to serve, but this really is the easiest way, particularly if you're serving up for a nice big family meal. This is the way to do it. So this now goes into the oven. It's going to bake off at 160 degrees Celsius for about 45 minutes. What you're looking for are those sides to have nicely set, the tiniest touch of a wobble in the center, and for it to be nice and golden brown all over. So into the oven, and let's get baking. Now, while that's baking off, we want to make a gorgeous sticky caramel sauce that is the essential element of this sticky toffee pudding. My one is a bit of a cheats caramel sauce. You don't have to worry about caramelizing sugar. Instead, it's basically a bit of a dump and stir job. So into a pot, we're going in with some dark brown sugar. This is sweet, sticky, and it really adds lovely flavor. So dark brown sugar for the win. And to this, plenty of butter is pretty essential here. Butter goes in, sugar goes in, and what stabilizes this whole sauce is some more of that golden syrup. And like I said earlier, if you don't have golden syrup, corn syrup will do the job. It won't give you that completely authentic sticky toffee flavor, but I do think it's a good replacement. Lastly, a little touch of vanilla extract. And because this is a salted caramel sauce, not only are we going to add some cream in here, but a little pinch of sea salt is going to be used to balance out the flavor. This all goes onto the heat, and we're going to bring this up to a nice roaring bubble, and then it's time to get in there with the cream. Now, it does take a minute or two, but if you leave this to start to melt down the butter and bubble up, you should be left with something that's nice and smooth. And a way of knowing that this is ready for the cream is that if you press it against the side and you don't feel any grains of sugar, that's a good way to know that it's ready for the cream. So on a low heat now, we're gonna add in our cream, and you wanna mix this as you do it, because it does spit up and bubble a little bit, but don't worry about it. Just add it, and slowly but surely it'll be incorporated. So once you add the cream in, let it cook out another minute or so, just until it starts to thicken up again. And while it is cooking out, we have so much sweetness in there, we want to balance it with a little bit of saltiness. And I know salted caramel is everywhere, but there's a good reason for that. It's absolutely delicious. And the great thing about the amount of salt we're adding here is that you really want to taste the salt so that it does balance the sweetness. So a good tablespoon of sea salt, or a little bit less, is the amount I'm going to add in here. And the great thing about this mixture is that it's going to keep really well in a jar in the fridge for at least 7 days. You're going to pour it out, leave it to cool, and then you can spoon it on top of ice cream. You can spoon it straight into your mouth. You can spoon it onto sticky toffee pudding. So there's lots of options with this one, and it's an absolute kind of core kitchen essential recipe to learn how to do, particularly because it's only a handful of ingredients and you cannot go wrong with this cheats version. So give that a stir through, let it cook out, and then we're going to transfer it to a jar. We're going to get our sticky toffee pudding out of the oven. We're going to serve the whole thing up with lots of lovely ice cream. And Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. You'll have a sticky toffee pudding to be happy with. This is the magic moment when that sticky toffee pudding comes out of the oven. The smell that has wafted around your kitchen already as it cooks is just phenomenal. Once it's still warm, it's just a little springy, it is time to pour over that glorious sticky toffee pudding all the way over the top while it's still warm. And if it isn't warm, just pop it in the microwave and give it a blast for a minute or two, because it really is essential that that salted caramel sauce is hot over that moist, warm sponge. Pour that over and you have something that is absolutely glorious. You could add a little pinch of salt over the top just as a final finishing flourish. And then all that's left to do is dive in and get yourself a nice, big, beautiful slice. Whoa, look at that. And I love the fact that as you serve this to the table, you can see that beautiful sticky toffee pudding, that glorious salted caramel sauce that just drips in and around that sponge. Finish it off with a little scoop of ice cream and you're in absolute heaven, and all that's left to do is try some. A little bit of the sauce, some ice cream, and some moist sticky toffee pudding. That is just instantly one of my desert island desserts. There's something warm and comforting and homely about it, and I think, you know, you see sticky toffee pudding in restaurants and it's this little fussy pudding mold. This is the way to serve it. Big spoonfuls, lots of caramel sauce, and ice cream over the top. Hello YouTubers! Today I am going to show you how to make the most delicious Swedish cinnamon buns. This recipe has to be one of the most popular recipes on my blog to date, and it always goes down well. They're really easy to make as well. So I have some melted butter in a pan here. I'm going to add in some milk, and you can whack off the heat at this point and just let that milk heat through. You should be able to dip your finger in and it not to burn you, okay? So it should be just about there. That's pretty good. It's lukewarm, just kind of body temperature, and it's that small bit of heat that's going to activate our yeast. So we have our wet ingredients over here. I'm going to leave them aside for a second. In this bowl, what I'm going to do is put in my dry ingredients. So I have some plain flour going in here. So a little bit of sugar going in here. And then our active dried yeast. This goes in. And then for some extra spice, and the true secret of a good Swedish cinnamon bun is the use of spice. And I've got some beautiful cardamom. If you've never tried this spice, I want you to try it. It's so, so good. So now at this point, just grab a wooden spoon and mix all those ingredients together. So make a little well in the center and try not to get flour all over the surface like I am. Then we're just gonna pour in that hot milk butter mixture. Using your wooden spoon to start with, just drag that little bit of flour in from the sides. Okay, this has come together nicely. Dump it out onto your surface, all those little extra bits, and scrape off the spoon. And it's at this point you can get your hands dirty, get them in there, and we're gonna knead this until we have a nice smooth elastic dough. This goes into a bowl. I'm gonna grab one that I already have. And after about 45 minutes to an hour, in a nice, warm, dark place, covered with some cling film, come on right in here and have a look at this. Look at this. Oh, you've got a little baby which has risen up and is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So now, all that's left to do is my favorite job in the kitchen ever, is to punch it down. So, let's turn this out. And now, I'm gonna just shape this out. And what I'm gonna do is get a really nice, big, long sausage shape. So just kind of spread it out with your hands first. So just make sure that you get it into a nice kind of square so that you get a nice roll all the way around. What I'm gonna do now is fill this, and it's at this point, if you wanted to use a whole host of other ingredients, chocolate, some berries, do that. But what I'm gonna do is make cinnamon buns. And to make my cinnamon buns, I have some butter, some sugar, and some cinnamon. And all I'm gonna do is combine them together. So a little bit of cinnamon, about a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons going in here, and add in my sugar. I'm gonna do this in a bigger bowl. So all of this goes in here. I don't want to give myself any trouble. Just mix that until you have a nice smooth paste. All right, this is good to go. Look at that. Beautiful cinnamon sugary paste. This is what cinnamon buns are all about. So grab this, scoop it out, and literally you've got this beautiful glob of cinnamon, sugary, buttery goodness. Just spread it, smear it. This is what it's all about, getting your hands in there and getting dirty. And now using your fingers, we're gonna roll this up. So just take it from the sides and pull it over on itself. Now there's 2 ways that you can make these cinnamon buns. One is to have them free form, and you can have them so that they're kind of sitting alone, you can eat them with a cup of coffee. The other way, which is kind of a fun way, especially if you're having people around for dinner, is to make them in a little cake tin and then they bake up together and you can tear them apart. So we're gonna do them both ways. I'm gonna show you how to do them both. So what you're looking for is about 1 inch of doughy goodness that's gonna form our beautiful cinnamon buns. So keep going. And now you can grab one of these babies, which is like a muffin tray or a cupcake tray, and one of these babies. So in with our muffins here, or into our muffin tray in here. Just press them in. Now the traditional way, if you go to Sweden, you'll see these in every supermarket, you'll see them in petrol stations, you might even see grannies eating them at bus stops. They are everywhere, and if you go there, what you'll see is these little flecks of pearl sugar on top. Pearl sugar is this fantastic stuff. Have a look at this. These are tiny little crystal granules of sugar, and they are perfect. They're really sweet and tasty, and they add a nice crunch. So we're gonna finish them off with some of those. And over here in our little tray, I'm gonna just kind of push all our little cinnamon buns into a kind of cake tin. Now, before I put this last one in, I want you to come up and have a look at this, because that is where the magic is. See those little swirls? What will happen in the oven is they will erupt and they'll squidge up and they'll be beautiful little Swedish cinnamon buns. Now, if you like the look of these Swedish cinnamon buns and you want to see more, then make sure that you click that subscribe button, because every time you don't, a fairy dies. Okay, I'm really sorry for anyone who believes in fairies. They don't really die, but I'd really like you to click on the subscribe button. Please subscribe. Okay, I'm gonna move on from this now and get back to our Swedish cinnamon buns. So I'm gonna grab an egg and just crack it, and we're gonna whisk it up and just brush it over the top. So a little bit over each one of these. Right, these need a little bit of pearl sugar. These now go into the oven. I've preheated it at 220 degrees Celsius, and it's gonna start off at that high point. I'm gonna turn it down 100 to 190, and then it's gonna cook off. They're gonna bake up for about 15 minutes or a little bit longer if they just want to be nice and golden, okay? So these go into the oven. Now I know that a lot of you will know how to make an icing, but for those of you out there who've never made a very simple icing, this is how you do it. I'm gonna add some icing sugar into a sieve. I'm gonna tap that sieve, and this can be used over a whole host of things, over nice little fairy cakes, cupcakes, buns, cinnamon buns if you have them. Okay, icing sugar in there. Little drop of water, about a tablespoon and a half. Mix that through. At this point you could probably add a little drop of extra water, but this is where it can go all wrong. So just add a tiny, tiny drop at a time. Mix that up and look at that beautiful, smooth, runny icing. Check this out, straight out of the oven, nicely risen, beautiful wafts of cardamom and cinnamon and all those lovely things. And I'm gonna transfer these over onto a wire rack to cool completely. Now I'm gonna transfer this across to a nice little cake stand like this. And I have just a really simple icing. And all I'm gonna do now is drizzle this over the top. Look at that. Beautifully iced Swedish cinnamon buns. Two ways, you can try it this way or you can try it that way. Really easy to make, and I want you to give these a go. And of course now all that's left to do is try some. Would you like to try some? Yes? Okay, here you go, try that one. Oh, you're gonna like that one. Oh, so good. Beautifully sweet, beautifully doughy. You got lovely spice from the cardamom and the cinnamon. Now all that's left to do is try these babies. Go and get the recipe on my website, donalskehan.com. Check it out and make sure to subscribe and leave a comment. See you later.